in business, you're doing sales.
Yeah.
You're doing marketing.
Yep.
You're trying to drive revenue.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, someone from compliance comes in and goes, well, not so fast. Because you have to understand the due diligence and the compliance and your OSJ and your broker dealer. And you're like, dude, I'm trying to drive $1 million worth of revenue here. You're blocking that.
The difference is,
and it's a major issue.
It is. But when do you need compliance and when do you not? Like I remember one time I had a call with one of my board members. This is 10 years ago, something like that, 8 years ago. And he says, look, I need you to call me every time you make a decision above $250,000. I said, no, I'm not doing that. He says, no, Tom, you remember this? I said, no, I'm not going to call you. It was the biggest call. He says, why are you not going to call me? I said, we just gave you $10 million.
He's a board member.
No, he gave me the $10 million.
Wow. Okay, gotcha.
He says, you got to. So I'm not calling you. He says, why? I said, do you realize I make decisions swiftly? You want me to wait for you for something like this? I'm not calling you. He says, can you at least tell Tom to tell me? I said, no, we're going to raise that to $500,000 and Tom's just going to tell you. I'm not calling for permission. I got to go. Now, that's
well, you
startup.
raised it from $250,000 to $500,000.
Yeah, I raised
So you
it.
said at $500,000, I will call you.
But I don't know. I don't need to call you. Tom will tell you. Wow. I'm not calling you. We're just going to tell you we're doing this so you know about it, right? The decision that we're making. However, there needs to be controls on presidents because today you trust the president's decision making. What if you don't and it's another guy in there that you're like, wait a minute, I don't like what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
He's approving something for LGBT and all this other stuff. And you're
Checks
like,
and balances.
hey, wait a minute. So there needs to be a little bit of that. This is why the founding fathers created something so special that we are the recipients and the beneficiaries of. But at this point, it's working. You have $300 billion of revenue that's coming in, potentially in the first year. Why would you get in the way of something that's working? And it's bringing jobs back to America. Why would you do that? Let it roll. Let it keep going. You have data. You have stats. Do you know when would have been a good time to do something like this? Month one. You don't have data. Now he's got proof. Hey, look at
you're saying the Supreme Court should have done.
Yeah, I mean, Tom,
well, Liberation Day.
Rob, can you show how much tariff revenue came in September? Was it 64 billion? The number? How much?
And I think there was a 31 billion correction that you saw Trump talking about yesterday. I believe yesterday on the news, late in the day.
Yeah. What was the tariff revenue that came in September? Yeah.
And while he's looking it up, I don't think the Supreme Court's proactively doing this against him. I think they're doing it as a result of other courts doing it.
I know they are. I know they are.
I have the starting point. While we're looking this up, you want to hear the starting point,
Go
Pat?
ahead, Tom.
It was a coalition of state attorney generals from the following states. I'm going to read them fast. You say red or blue, okay? Oregon.
Blue.
So, okay. Connecticut.
Blue.
Delaware.
Blue.
Illinois.
Blue.
Maine.
Blue.
Minnesota.
Blue.
Nevada.
Blue.
New Mexico.
Blue.
New York.
Blue.
Vermont.
Blue.
Those states came together and filed the injunction. The injunction was filed by that federal court, that judge, and now we have to escalate it. But so look who's trying to do it. It's not the interest of the United States. It's the interest of a coalition of blue attorney generals who are never Trump.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
if you look at this stat, by the way, a great point to you. Trump has signed the most executive orders in almost 100 years, I want to say. So I think in his first term, I think he signed up to this point 50 executive orders. 2025, it says 210. He's 4x executive orders. It's the most since FDR, which was, in the 30s, so almost less than 100 years. So perhaps this is pushback against this. How do you?
I don't know. Those are two different things. I think tariffs is, listen, don't get me wrong. Some people are being impacted by it. I'm not sitting here telling you it's 100% good for everything. Sometimes when you introduce a new comp or something you're changing, some people quit and some people leave. And some just simply say, I can't do that. Then later on, many of those guys come back and they're like, man, I made a mistake. I know, blah, blah, blah. It's too late. You missed the momentum, right? But some people go. But whenever you change comp, for the first 3-6 months, there's a little bit of disruption. Of course, that's for a company. For a country, guess how long that lasts? Probably 12 to 24 months. So we're still in it.
Very key what he just said. Like when somebody new comes in, there's going to be change. Now, what the Democrats would prefer is somebody who doesn't ripple the waves too much. Somebody that's going to go along with the program. He may be a Republican that's president. That's fine, but he's somebody that has no money. He's somebody that we can tie down. Like he's somebody that is basically looking after his own self-interest. Trump is the anomaly. He was a multi-billionaire, and then he became president. You have nothing on this guy. This is why they threw everything at this guy so he could not be president of the United States. It's everything. They even tried to kill him twice. Right? Like I told you guys in the last video, Trump is the force multiplier. That's what he is. He's a force multiplier. There's every new election, the Democrats fear somebody that's going to be so polar opposite of what they are that they lose control. Democrats don't necessarily care that you're Republican or independent. They don't care about all that. What they care about is whether or not they can control you. That's people they fear, people that they cannot control. This is why I would absolutely not be opposed to Trump being a third-time president. I just wouldn't. Because every single 4 years, man, it's just we need some consistency. And as much as I like JD Vance, he can be had. He's not Trump. He can be had. He's a guy that wants to make his money, of course. All politicians want to make their money no matter what they say. I don't care what they say. This is why all these people, once they leave office, they want to sell a freaking book. It's the same thing. They're always looking for money. Barack Hussein Obama got rich while being president. His net worth ballooned to like $500 million. Make a lot of money of being president. The thing is, if you have no money, what you have to do is you have to do the people outside of the U.S. government. You have to do them favors. So when you do leave office, then you get the payouts. Then you get the $1 million speaking gigs all around the country. Then you get this contract, you get this contract, you get these connections, and so on and so forth. This is how you get the Pelosi's, you get the inside trade. It's deep, man. It's really deep. As far as this tariff is concerned, the Democrats, they'll do anything to stop this tariff, the tariff collection. Because they know that if he wins on this, the Democrats are done. Out of all the things that the Democrats have to fear, is this guy right here. Is this topic right here, tariffs. They fear this the most. This right here. Because there is not one human being that will say, well, I mean, he did get rid of my income taxes, so well, goddamn. What else you want the man to do? I don't care if you're Democrat, feminist, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. You're going to vote for that man. If that means no more taxes on your income, there's not a soul that won't vote for the Republicans moving forward. There's not a soul. And I'm going to prove it to you. Let me show you how. Watch this. Lyndon B. Johnson said what? I'm gonna have black people voting Democrat for the next 100 years or whatever. He did that because he instituted Section 8 and EBT. Right? He made black people solely dependent on the government. So the government basically paid all their bills. And black women have voted 93% or higher over the last 50 years. Over the last 50 years. So guess what? It worked. Now you have a Republican that's talking about eliminating basically everybody's income taxes because most people make less than 150K. He's basically telling you whatever you earn, you keep. No more taxes. Guess what? Trump will have everybody, Democrat or Republican, voting Republican for the next 50 years. This is what the Democrats fear the most. This one right here. Still quiet. Still don't believe he can get it done. But watch this. It's gaining ground. If he can pull this off with all the wars that he has stopped, there is no question in my mind that Donald Trump will be recognized as the greatest, most consequential president in human history. of the United States. No question about it. Then what would the Democratic media have to say then? And he wins the Nobel Peace Prize that he's been nominated for?
We're still kind of going through it, but people have to adjust. A lot of companies are starting to realize this is not something that's temporary. This is probably going to be here unless if these guys choose to change this up. If you run a business, if you're in the hunt, you know.
Yeah, so he's promoting stuff and whatnot. And shout out to Entertainment. This is the first time I'm actually, not the first or second time that I'm just go work. We've got like 7.6 million subs. He's been at this for a while. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think, right? Do you agree with the Democrats as far as them trying to disrupt this new tariff? Alright. So $1.3 trillion. I don't know if you guys can write that subline. It says $1.3 trillion in tariff revenue. Actually,
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we
I've been
go.
using steroids for a decade. That's
Okay.
a tariff.
Can't tell time.
I'm the pitcher, you're the batter. Okay, Brandon's been using steroids for a decade.
Okay.
He's pitching, and I'm the baseball player, I'm at bat.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, they do a test, and they said, he's using steroids, but they don't suspend you. They just say, you know what, Tom? You can use steroids. And I'm like, great. But then everybody screams, you can't let Tom use steroids and juice. Wait, Brandon's been using it for a decade. Some of these tariffs have
That's
been
for
against
sure.
the United States for a decade or more.
Absolutely.
And now the president is saying, I want to swing a bigger bat with a bigger market, and I want to get their attention to say, we're playing a different game. We're going to bring this playing field back, and we're going to level it. And can we, since you just mentioned pharmaceuticals, can we blend in the Merck story?
Of course.
Merck has
That's where I was
announced
gonna go next.
construction
Yeah.
of a $3 billion manufacturing
That's right.
facility in Virginia. Wow, how did that happen? We're going to make medications here, and we already have the progress he's made on the cost of medications. We saw that. And Rob, check this out. He's talking about 17 trillion in his first term. Let's go find the chart that we had here. Guess how much is in play right now? No. I sent you the
Tom, keep going. Guess how much is in
in
play right now?
Right now, that is dirt's being moved, steel being poured. There it is right there. What we have is $1.268 trillion, the Trump effect already. And take a look at what's happening. Some people say, well, Apple's only going to put half of that. Okay, ignore that. Look at Micron, building factories in Idaho and Virginia. IBM, TMSC, that's Taiwan Semiconductor, building 100 billion in Arizona. That one actually started under Biden. Look at Texas Instruments, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Rhodes. Look at all this. This is since March 1st. These are greenlit projects. It's not just an estimate. The estimate of 17 trillion for the first term.
I have a question for you guys who voted for Kamala. Let's be honest. Ladies and gents, be honest. Would Kamala Harris would she even dare to do such a thing? These things that Trump is putting in place, would she even dare? Is she even smart enough to pull this off? I mean, be honest. Come on. Come on. Kamala Harris was going to do all this, really? Come on.
Is very real, Pat. This is 500,000 jobs that are coming as a result of just what's the 1.5 trillion that's being invested since March 1st. And by the way, you know what the estimate is? The estimate is that there's 70,000 construction jobs that are being created because of these things that need to be built. This is called the Trump effect. This is not BS. This is words talk, numbers scream. Look at what's already happening. Just give these jobs time to get here.
Does Supreme Court have the ability to do that, to prevent the president from using tariffs?
Well, I think the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court doesn't walk into a room and say, hey, I think I'm going to rule on something. Somebody has to bring a suit to the Supreme Court. And you have to go take a look. It's the Dems put forward an act, and they're asking, are the tariffs unconstitutional in terms of the president's power? And so why?
You have to ask yourself this question. If revenue is coming into your house, that is feeding your family and getting you out of debt, but then your wife is saying, well, is this the right way? And it's trying to stop you from getting revenue that's legal. What does that say about your wife? That's why I say you have to think, why are the Democrats so afraid of this? If Trump gets a hold of this and he uses this to eliminate taxes, he doesn't need to run on any other slogan other than I eliminated income taxes for the American people, period. The Democrats will have nothing, no comeback, nothing. Nothing you can say. Nothing. This is a big deal.
Why on earth would people in our own government want the Supreme Court to rule on this unless they had China money in their own pocket?
Yeah, so there actually is a historical precedent for this that explains this. So it used to be Congress that got to decide when to impose tariffs and when not to, but then they gave the power to the president for matters of national security to impose tariffs, which, all of this is a matter of national security, whether for economically and for manufacturing, for weapons, for pharmaceuticals. So that's what it's really, the decisions being made on, is whether or not this is a matter of national security. And I believe the reason it got to the Supreme Court is because a lot of courts tried to block Trump doing it. Like, all these federal courts are getting in the way. But I've heard a lot of people say the founders would be appalled with the way that the judges are using their power. Of all the branches, the judges have gotten far too much power, I think, over the last decade or last century.
Yeah, it says here, tariffs power belongs to Congress, but delegated to the president. Congress has the power to lay and collect tax, duties, impose and excises, meaning Congress controls tariffs. Over the past century, however, Congress has delegated broad authority to the president to adjust tariffs under specific laws. The Trade Expansion Act of 1962, the Trade Act of 1974, International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Supreme Court can't directly stop the president, but can rule on legality. The Supreme Court cannot preemptively block it, but it can review such actions that are being challenged by other courts. If Trump steals aluminum tariffs, so they did that in 2018 in U.S. against George S. Bush and Company, 1930, later trade-related cases, the court recognized Congress' right to delegate limited trade power. Anyways, I don't know about this. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think Trump, this is, backing up a second. This is a win-win situation for Trump, regardless of what happens. It might not be a win-win situation for the American people. Why? We can officially put to rest this whole king and fascist thing. Trump's making these executive orders, making these plans, and here comes the third branch of government, the judicial, says, no. Not so fast, King Trump. Not so quick. So one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to win this case, and it's going to validate what he's doing, and the tariff things are going to happen, or he's going to lose the case, and he's going to officially be able to say, dude, I can't even as a king make the decisions on the executive branch to what we're going to do with tariffs. So to me, he's going to win either way. He's either going to win the narrative and completely dismantle the left's woke, no kings perspective, or he's going to win both and say, I went through the courts ruled in my favor, you see I'm not a king, and the tariffs uphold. You know what it reminds me of? Tell me, in business, you're doing sales.
Yeah.
You're doing marketing.
Yep.
You're trying to drive revenue.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, someone from compliance.
Yeah, I think we get the point, right? We get the point. Guys, this is a big deal. We need to pay attention to this. But anyway, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let me know, guys. Let me know what you think about tariffs. And whether or not this is the biggest thing or the biggest threat to the Democratic Party. All right, guys?